thumbs up if you can hear me clearly and you can be able to see my screen again. Thank you, Timothy. So welcome again. This is TypeScript 101 series. This is event number 3. And my name is Dennis Washira, computer science student from Kirinyaga University, and also Gold Microsoft student ambassador. In this series, we try to explore the capabilities of TypeScript from basics up to an advanced level thereafter. So over the past 2 events, we have been looking at the introduction of TypeScript. We have been able to check and also to download the TypeScript compiler. Then you're able to have the TypeScript execute, which is a TSX. It's mostly used for development purposes, and we opted to use this to leverage the watch mode. That's a feature that comes with the TSX. And today we are diving into variables and data types. And a variable is a named memory location that can hold a value, and these variables can store a variety or wide range of data types such as numbers, we have strings, we have arrays, and also objects. And also a variable is declared by specifying its name, its data type, and also sometimes optionally you can initialize it with value, or you can declare the variable and assign it a variable at the head. And once a variable is declared, it can be read or updated in other part of the program. And some data types in TypeScript, all data types are subtypes of a global type called any, and after that they are divided into multiple categories where we have some primitive types, which is Boolean, we have numbers, we have string, enums, or enumeration, then we have void. And object types, we have classes, we have interfaces, we have arrays, and laterals. Then we have type parameters, and finally we have something called null and undefined. And a special concept in TypeScript, it's about special types, and one of these special types it's never. So never, it represents the value that will never happen, and we use it as a return type of function that do not return a value, mostly in infinite loop or function that always throws an error. So we have some example of code in the presentation where you have now just a var x, it's a function with an infinite loop, then you need to type this with never, or if it does not type it with it, mostly the TypeScript will infer that function with a never type. Then we have a function that throws an error, so you need to infer it with a return type of never. Then another special type in TypeScript, it's void, and void it represents the absence of any return value, and mostly it's used on functions that does not return anything. Like we have a function that say hello, you type it with void because we are just console logging the message hello. We'll be able to demonstrate this on our VS Code. And the other one is unknown. So it's a special type, and it means that like the type of that variable, it's not known, and it's the type safe, the counterpart of any, and but cannot, and also unknown, you cannot assign it unknown to any value to another type before checking the type of that, before checking the type of that unknown data type. Then finally, we have TypeScript, a special type which is null and undefined. So JavaScript, we have two ways to refer something that is null, which is null or undefined. And these two separate data types, these are in TypeScript, they are two separate data types, and null and undefined, we're saying like they are subtype of all other types. This means you can assign a null or undefined something like a number. So undefined denotes the value is given to all uninitialized variables. Then we have null, which represents the intentional absence of object and value. So that's the end of the presentation. Let's dive into VS Code and try to play around with these, mostly the primitive types, then the special types, then later in our data session, we'll be able to look the interfaces, the classes and objects. So let me stop sharing my presentation and share my VS Code. So this is my VS Code, and a thumbs up if you can be able to see my VS Code. I want to make sure we are in the same page. Yeah, thank you, Kevin. Okay, so last week we were able to install some of the dev dependencies, which is TSX, which enables us to utilize the watch mode in our project so that we can avoid the ethic of keep on transpiring our code from TypeScript to JavaScript. So the watch mode will be able to do that effortlessly. So and we stopped at this point where we were defining some variables with some different data types. We have a type number, then we have a type string. So and I want now to have a deep dive in these variables. So let me clear this. And for those maybe who have not attended my previous session, you can watch this the previous session on our YouTube channel. I'll be sharing that in a few. I will be adding this session. So under this file, I want to declare some different data types that I was saying defining a variable in JavaScript. In TypeScript, we use the two keyword, which is let or const, and I will start using let. So I love let and the name of that variable, which is first name. I want to type it with a string because name is a string, so I want to type it with a string and assign it with a variable like my name, which is Dennis. Then I want my last name the same, so let last name be of type string also. Then the last name is Washira. So we are looking about the primitive data types first. So the string, the numbers, the boolean. So then let me define another data type, which is a number. So let's int of data type number and initialize it with a value like my age is maybe 25. And I can do something with these variables. I can do like something to do with maybe string interpolation. So string interpolation. Let me comment is string interpolation. Yeah. So and doing string interpolation is calling these dynamic variables directly into a console row using the backticks and the dollar sign. So let me console log this on our console. So I use console.log, then open bracket, then I use because I want to display a string, I need to use the curly the quote, the double quote or single quotes. So let me use single quote. Then I just want to say hello, then a comma. Okay, a comma. So we are doing a string interpolation, so we need to use backticks, then hello, then use the dollar sign to call this dynamic variable into this console function. So let me now use the dollar sign, then curly braces, and call my first variable, which is this. Then I call the second, the last name using the same method, which is dollar sign, curly braces, last name, and finally I use and this age. So this is what we call a string interpolation, calling the variables directly into a string using the backticks and also the dollar sign in our console.log function. So let me run this project. And if you go to the packages, so we have this script, which is dev, which is tsx watch, then the file name we want to do. So I can now run this using the pnpm or npm. So pnpm run dev. So let's wait for the project to spin up. Yeah. Yes, you can see the output, and I have some typo on my this single quote here. So if you make any change, hit reload. So that's the power of the TSX. So we have our output here, which is hello, Dennis Washira. And if you're wondering where this is coming from, so I have a separate file, which is variable.ts, which has an export a keyword. That means I can be able to use this file anywhere in my code. So I've come into my index.tsx, then imported the file, then calling the function under that variable. So and that's why you are able to see this output here. The next thing is if I can do string interpolation, I can also do a string concatenation. String concatenation. So concatenation. So concatenation use the plus operator to concatenate two variables or maybe or two string variables or a number. So it's like this, which is console.log and open curly braces. So use the double quote or single quote, and hello comma, and I use the outside the double quotes. I use now the plus operator to concatenate my two variable, which is first name and last name. So plus operator, then the variable I want to concatenate, which is now the first name, then plus at the end. Then I want a space between the first name and last name, so I have to add a double quote which has a space inside. Then next I have a plus operator and add my last name again. I add the plus operator again. Then at the end I want to have also a string which is saying um this age, like the age we initialized here. So I am, then at the end of the double quote, another plus operator, then the variable age plus operator, then double quote, then the string to end, like this years old. And you can see at the bottom we have the output. So you may need to adjust the way you're outputting here to have some spaces between these things. So we have to have a space there to have a space between these. So the same here, I need to have a space to have like Dennis Washira, and I'm 5 years old. So there is no advantage of using one or the other. It's all about how you understand the concept and be able to use them in your code. And after string interpolation, we can try to do a simple math. So let me now define some another two variables, which is using the let keyword. So x of type number. I can initialize it with 100, then let y be also a number, and initialize it with value 50. So if I want to do addition of these two variables, it's easy. So I just need to console log this using now and use the plus operator to add these two variables together. So it's console.log, then parentheses, double quote. I just need a clear message. So the addition is in a space just outside. I need to use now a comma, then just call the two variables, which is x plus y. I'm doing this directly on the console because we have not tackled functions, and we could have done this using functions so that we can have something to do with parameterized function. Like you can have a function that has like arguments, and you can be able to call that function with different arguments. But for now, let me do this like this, and you can see on our console, we can see the addition of x and y, which is 150, which is 150. And another, just a simple mathematics, maybe multiplication and subtraction. So let price be of type number. I initialize it with 200. Then maybe I want to calculate a discount on when buying something, maybe on an online shop. So let me have a discount, which is also a number. Then and the discount might be maybe 0.1. So maybe this is like a 10% discount. Then the final price when discount has been applied it will be calculated like this. Let the final price be the same as type number and is equal to. So we take the initial price. So initial price, then we subtract the multiplication of our discount using the discount we are applying. So I use the parentheses and multiply the price multiply by, so multiply use the star, then the discount. And with that, you can now console log the final price. So console.log and then a simple message using the double quotes. So the final price is then comma and call the final price there. So with that, you'll be able to see in our output or the console where the final price is 180, and this is why, because the initial is 200 and the discount is 10%, and 10% of 200 is 20. So 20 minus so minus 200, which is 180. So that's all about numbers and a string. You can do some string interpolation, concatenation. In mathematics, you can do some addition, multiplication, and subtraction, and other two data types I want to check. We want to check is a Boolean. So mostly Booleans are used to check conditions. Mostly we use is to check conditions. And I want to define two variables here. So let is student be of type Boolean. Then I want to initialize it with a true value. So true. Then I want to have another variable, which is logged. It is logged. Then the same, I want to type it with type Boolean, then initialize it with false value. So I can use now these variables to check conditions. So like using this variable Boolean to check conditions. And the first, I know if you are into programming, you know about the conditions and loops. So I want even if we have not covered those loops and conditions, I want to use the if condition to check something. So, and how you use if, so you use the if keyword, then the variable you are using, you want to check the condition. So I want to use student, is student. So is student. So if is student returns true, do this. So these are how conditions work. So if this is true, I want to do this. Else, do this. So this is now a valid if condition. So if student is equals to true, do whatever it's inside here. If student is equals to false, then do this. And if student is also it's true, so I just want to console log just a message there, so that we can see whether our booleans are working as expected. So console.log, and I just want to display a message. So welcome. Maybe let me implicitly say like student, welcome student, and enjoy learning TypeScript. Otherwise, so if student is not true, so it will do this. And what do I want to display this if the student is not equals to true? So console.log, and just also a message which is welcome. This might be a guest, so maybe let me just say explicitly welcome guest. Enjoy learning TypeScript. Already the code has been transpiled, and the output we can see on the console, and you can see the code is displaying the first statement. Why? Because our student is true. The initial value of student is true. So every time we run this code, so the true codation will execute and display this. So if I want to display this, I need to update this to false. So if I update this to false, you'll see now the different message. It will not execute this, it will execute the else part, which is now welcome guest, enjoy learning TypeScript. And I hope up to that we are moving on well. And if you are with me, kindly a thumbs up so that you can continue. A thumbs up so that we can continue. Okay, Brian and Timothy for that. So let's move on to some another concept. We talked about special types on TypeScript. And the first special type I want, so let me comment this code here. So that we can continue here. So we talked about special types on TypeScript. And the first type I want us to cover is any type. So any type allows any value, but it removes the TypeScript safety. So it's flexible, but a monster in kind of. So it's not always advisable to use any in TypeScript because you lose the value of the type checking or the type safety in TypeScript. But all you know, you have to learn about it. So I want to declare a variable here and type it with a data type any. So maybe let a variable something and type it with data type any, and maybe initialize it with a string, which is hello. So we can try to check the type of this variable something, and you can use the type of keyword in TypeScript. So console log, then a message, which is the type something, the type of this something, this variable something is. Now I use the type of keyword. So this is a new concept now, how you check the type of a variable. So use the keyword type of, then sorry, the type of, then the variable you want to check the type, so something. And with that, and on our console log, you can see like the type of this something is a string, but we have typed it with any. So any can take any data type. That's why like if you initialize it with hello with a string, it will output the data type of that being a string. And it's saying like it allow any value. So I can update this variable with a number. So let me something update it with a number, which is now 100. And if I console log this, so let me use what ChatGPT's oh sorry, console control and show the data type of this variable after updating with a number. So the type of something is, so the type of something, then if you see clearly, we have the first, because we initialized it with a string, it is being typed with a value, the data type string. And after updating this something with a number, we get the type of this value, or this of this variable to be of type number. So that's how. And you can also update with any data type. So I can also even update it with a Boolean. So something to be true. Then console log this, you'll be able to see like it's a Boolean. So any, it accepts any value, but it's not recommendable because it removes the TypeScript safety mechanism. That's what we are trying to enforce using TypeScript. So now now that we have any, we have a counterpart of this any, which is a unknown type. So let's check on unknown type. And unknown type, so it's type safe version of any, and any unknown type restrict the direct usage until you do the type checking first. So an example, let me have a string, like mostly a user input, when maybe the user is registering. I can have that a user input and type it with unknown. And after typing it with unknown, I want to initialize this variable with a string. So user input and initialize it with a string like hello TypeScript. So this is just a random string I've assigned it to this known variable, which is user input, which we have typed it with unknown data type. And if I console log the type of this variable, so let me do a type a message here, the type of user input is, then a comma, then a type of, then the user input. You'll be able to see, yes, it's a string because we have initialized it with a string. But if we want to update this user input to maybe to a number, we might get an error. Like like this. Let me update this user input with a number. So user input, I update it with a number. You can see like this is fine because the unknown allows the same way unknown, like the way any value allows any data type. The unknown will do this, but if we try to directly assign an unknown value to another type, we get an error. Like maybe let me declare a new value, maybe a new variable here, and maybe of type string. Then I want to initialize it with the value of user input. So this will bring an error. And you can see already TypeScript is saying like a new var, it's declared but never rent. So unknown, so type unknown is not assignable to type string. So this user input, it's typed to unknown, but you cannot update or assign this user input to another value or change the data type directly because of this unknown data type. And so you will need now to check the data type before updating or reassigning this variable to another value. And we can do this by, so let me comment this. So we need now to use something like maybe check condition. So let me minimize this a little bit. So you need to use check condition so that you can check the type of that variable, then you can assign it with the new value. So if use the key word to check the type of that user, the variable. So the type of user input. So I want to check, then use the triple operator, like to check the equitable of this user input. If it's a string, then I can now update or assign this user inputs to another variable. So this now, this let var, we can bring it here inside and there, and close the condition, and the error is gone. And we can now, you can see like the error is gone, and we can try to output now the type of this new var, which is now what. So we are assigning it the string, and we want to console log the type of this new var, and at the bottom. So let me drag a little bit so you can see the output of this variable here. So the type of user input is number. So let me comment out this to avoid confusion. So console if type of user input. Let me comment this. So let new var be of type string, then assign it to this user input, and now you can see the error, it was gone. So that's how you need to use you are required to use unknown, but if you want to assign it to a new variable, you need to check the type, then update the new var with the value of this variable. So like this here, so user input maybe it's equals to 10. But we need now to check this, like if a string, we are only doing, if it's a string, you will need to update this new var with the user input. So you're gonna not see the output because the condition is not met. So let me comment this and comment this. I will be able to see now like the type of this new var is a string. Why? Because we checked like if user input is equals to a string, this here. So if it's a string, we now want to update our new var with the value of user input. And now you can see this is a string. And that's how we use unknown. And so use unknown when you don't know the exact type of maybe beforehand, and but want the TypeScript to enforce the checks or checks before using it. So anytime now you can use the unknown. Then if you want to enforce the type checking, you need now to use the condition, like to check the if it's a string, do this. Else maybe it's a number, do this. And the other one, the special type is void. So void mostly is used when function does not return anything. So let me just have a simple function here, which is a function, maybe say hello, then parentheses, and this is how you type a function. So use the full colon, then the void keyword, denoting like the function does not return anything. So then open curly braces and maybe console log hello TypeScript. And anytime you define a function, you need to call that function, so that can be fired when the code runs. So you need to call that function at the bottom. So and you can see here we have the output, which is hello TypeScript, because we have not used something like maybe return keyword to denote like it's returning something. So we are using the void to make sure like our function like it's returning, does not return anything. Then if you try to use a void and return something, you run into errors. Like maybe let me comment this, or let me update this. Instead of console log, you use something like return, then maybe a string hi. So this will create errors. Like you can see like type string is not assignable to type void. So you need to check on that. So anytime your function is returning nothing, you should not have a return keyword inside your function. So let me go back to console log dot this. And the last but not least is never special type. Never special type. Never. We said never is used to a function that never returns a value, and this never is a type for function that never returns the value because of maybe two reasons, like it thrown an error, or maybe enters into an infinite loop. And just an example of function. So don't mind about the function for now, but I want to use a function so that I can demonstrate how to use never into a function that always maybe enters into an error. So function, maybe throw an error, sorry, throw an error. Then the other parameters, maybe a message of type string. Then I want to type this function with a type never. because the function throws an error always, then throw an error, then a message. So if I call this function, throw an error, then maybe pass something like something went wrong. Something went wrong. So you can see we have an error like here. So always these functions throws an error. So and we need now to terminate the function so that you can not have an infinite loop. And we need now to type this with never to avoid that infinite looping or continuously displaying the error in the console. And maybe an infinite loop would do the same. So like a function, let me comment of this. A function infinite loop a function, then type it with a type never, then open the curly braces. So let me use a while loop so that I can create an infinite loop, and while loop is true, do this like a console log, like infinite loop. So it's advisable if I call this function, my machine might crash because of the function we run infinitely because we don't have a break key, a break functionality in this function. That's why now we need to use the never key, the data type. And I think up to there, we have come to an end of exploring the primitive data types and the special types with in TypeScript, and some key takeaways like any, as I said, it's flexible but unsafe. So always avoid it when it's possible. Then unknown, it's similar to any, but it requires type checking before the use. So it's always advisable if you don't know maybe you are trying to fetch a data from an API. So unknown will be the best case to use instead of any, so that you can be able to enforce the type checking in TypeScript, and unknown will be the best choice. Then void is for the functions that do not return any value. Then finally, we have never. It's always used that either when a function throws an error or maybe a loop that runs forever. And I hope you have learned something out of this. And I have a quick challenge I want to share with you so that you can be able to go and implement this concept we have learned today. And I have some gift for the first come, first serve. So if you do the challenge and complete and submit on time, I have something to give. Maybe 3 or 4 people will do this as fast as possible. So I have a GitHub repository, which is a TypeScript series. So let me share the link on the chat. So that's the link to that GitHub repository. What I want you to do is go to that repository, fork that repository to your GitHub. Then you can use code space or clone that repository and do the challenge that is, and you go inside this source folder. I have this file which is variable, and I have initialized with some challenges. Like you can see, I have like the challenge one. It's to fix the type safety. So I have a function that's it's type any, but if I run this function, I'm getting an error. So what I want you to do is go and type it with the correct data type. Maybe it might be unknown or never. So it's upon you to do the research and to see the use cases of any, the use cases of unknown, the use case of never. And there are like how many challenges? 4 challenges. So they are just simple challenges. We just need to understand the function. Function. So we are um, trying to uppercase the input. So if you are trying to I can demonstrate the first one. So you need to understand like I'm trying to uppercase these inputs. And I remember if I run this code, I'll get an error because why? Unknown, it accepts any data type. And if it accepts any data type, so that means anything that is assigned to that variable. TypeScript will not have that intelligence to have like if it's a number, I can perform something like maybe truncate, something like that. So if it's a string, I can do something to do with to uppercase that input if it's a string, something like that. So I now to update these to unknown and now here I have to select maybe update and check, use the if condition to check like if the user input, the input is string of type string, now do the uppercase function to that input. So that's how now I want you to implement like the same thing with the challenge number 2. You can see like it's unknown. So I'm assigning it 42, and when I try to convert this to a number, I get an error. So try and figure out why there is an error. Update it with the correct data type. Same thing with the challenge number 3 and 4. So first come, first serve, I have like some gifts to give the first maybe 4 or 5 who will do this. So you just need to clone this into a machine, do create a separate branch, push to that branch, then create a pull up request to my main branch. I'll be able to see those pull up requests, assess the challenges, and see who got the correct thing. And I hope up to that point, unless you have questions before we call the meeting to an end. Any question or clarification? Yes, Robinson, yes, you can unmute and
Yes, I hope I'm audible.
yeah,
Good evening, Dennis.
yes,
So I'm unable to access the chat. It's
yeah.
saying due to organization policy, the admin has turned off chat for external people. So is there a way I can get the link that you shared?
Oh, okay. I'll share the link on WhatsApp. Are you in the WhatsApp channel?
Not really, no.
What about the computer science community?
No,
The computer science Society of Kirinyaga, you're not in the group.
not really. Okay,
Oh,
I joined this meeting through the Meetup website.
okay, okay.
Yeah.
So let me see how I can do this.
Okay.
So in the meantime, as I check the way